tell us about which scholarships you applied to when you're in A-levels? How did you select which ones you're going to apply to? And also, how did the process work?
I actually applied for 2 scholarships, being Bank Negara and Maxis. The thing is, the assessments for both were very different. Like, once you go into a corporate world, you can actually see like different companies have different approaches to doing things. So when I went for the Bank Negara assessment, it was a bit more like structured, more Malaysian, I would say. It was very like write an essay, answer questions and all. But when I went for the Maxis assessment, it was a group case study where we had to actually build a toy from scratch and then later sell it through marketing. So for me, fortunately enough, like I did get the Maxis scholarship, and it was the assessment center followed by a one-on-one interview followed by a panel interview.
Well, what kind of questions were they asking, and also how did you prepare from them?
Well, for the interview that I went for the case study, the questions would be basically on the case study. So they give you a problem and you have to solve the problem. Mine was there's a flood happening and you have to plan an evacuation route. And they give you all your constraints, what you have, what you don't have, and they gave me like some mathematical sort of relationship, like for every 2 boats you have, you can take 1 helicopter, and for every 5 boxes you want to have, you have like, it can fit into 1 boat, or something to that extent. And basically you had to present to a panel of 3 people how you would execute this evacuation plan. And basically when I give my proposal, then they would just shoot it down. So what if this happens, what if that happens, what if I do it this way, what if I do it that way. So I think that set of questions is more like your problem solving skills, how well you can solve problems. And I do think that's basically for companies that do case study methods, that's the skill that they're trying to get out from you, you know, like, okay, so how does this person solve problems? That would be the technical part. On the more softer skills part, I think that sort of questions are trying to look at how well you deal with people challenging you, how you react under pressure, how you do a presentation, these kind of things at that age.
What Marisha touched on was quite good in terms of really thinking about your CV. One tip that I would really give is tailoring your CV to the organization that you're applying to. So for example, if you're applying to Sime Darby, you know, they're a plantation company, you know, most of their revenue comes from that. What have you done to show that you've got an interest in agriculture or, you know, the environment? The environment is something, it's a big agenda for Sime Darby.
Most important question that you like to ask is, what are your weaknesses? What is your weakness? Let's limit it to 1, yeah? So for me, what I said was that I always think I'm right, and I think that this did come out during the interview process. So you can't lie. Your limitations will be put on display, and you've got to be honest about what that is.
So I'm going to speak from the perspective of actually being the assessor. So 3 years after being assessed, I've actually been on the selection panel, so I have been conducting interviews for all the scholars and even some of the young graduates that come in. So I don't make the final decision, but what I do is I actually observe the assessment centers. So what we actually assess is, as we mentioned previously, each company would actually have a list of criteria by which we already more or less know that we want to observe these characteristics in the people that we are going to give the scholarship to, so for our future hires and all. So some of the important things that we do ask is like, we will always put people on the spot because we want to see how you adapt to like sudden questions, and we also want to see whether or not you are able to work in a team. So a lot of questions we ask is to mainly see whether or not you actually have, you know, done what you say you have done in your CV. So like what Marsh has said, right? You can put you like, I'm the captain of what, so and so. But nowadays, right, there are so many societies. Anyone out there can be the president, secretary, or treasurer or something. So you actually do really need to know what you have done in that role, which supports a certain characteristic that you are trying to convey to the interviewer. So that's actually very important. Not just the position, but what you have done in that position that can support what characteristic you will.
Sometimes people think that you need to have done something really, really extraordinary to be noticed or something like that in an interview. But sometimes you can just say ordinary things that you've done in a very extraordinary way. So because they would have seen a lot of students do this. But you can say, I've done this, which is something that a lot of students do, but I've done it in a way that nobody else has done.
What are the downsides of a scholarship? I have heard will get a job. I will get a pretty good job. So I want to hear from you guys, what are the downsides?
So yeah, I'm kind of guilty of doing that. So like when, I mean, as a Malaysian, still quite a bit kiasu, right? So I still did all my internships. Like first year I did an internship, second year I did an internship. But like comparing myself to my peers, what happens in UK more often than not is after your second year, people usually apply for summer internships in the UK itself. So it's extremely competitive. Everyone is like dying for internship there because chances are if you get your internship for summer after second year, you will get a job offer after that.
But what you really need to think about, as I'm sure every one of us here today do think about when we're in the working world, is the opportunity cost. So whilst it's a good and a bad, it's a good thing to have a job at the end of the day, but even Shana is saying it's not guaranteed because markets change. What you study now, the market is changing so quick. What you're studying now might not be relevant a few years down the line. I mean, if you're doing a master's, it's 4 years. If you're doing a PhD, it's a bit later than that.
So I think they've really covered really good points. I'm only going to add two. The first one is, Sarah said markets might change, but another thing that might change is actually you. Among your 3 years in university, you might figure out, oh my god, actually, I really hate this. Or I'm not an accounts person, I don't want to work in finance. So I think I saw the survey you sent, and quite a lot of people want to go into finance. Finance is a super sexy word, everybody wants to go into it. I know a lot of people who go into it and then figure out it's not for them. So you might change, but you've already signed a contract with a company where you're going to go back and you're going to work for them for the next, I don't know how many years. So you might change, which means that you're not a good job fit anymore for that company, but you still have to go back to that company. So that's one opportunity cost. There's not much flexibility if you change your mind. The second one is, of course, the financial cost. If you do change your mind and you want to break your bond, most of the times, each company is different. Some people will make you pay in lump sum, so the whole amount. Some companies will say, okay, I'll give you some flexibility, there's installments, but you can't really assume any of it because I've never seen a contract which is actually very straightforward. Most of the scholarship contracts are actually quite vague.
I needed a letter from the government, and so the only way to get that letter was to pay it all back in one lump sum. And that was the price that I decided to pay. It's not that easy because you need that cash somewhere and you do need income coming in. And so to that point, you really do need to think about it carefully whether you want to take a scholarship or you want to take a loan.
One, make sure that if you're applying for a scholarship, you know why exactly you're applying for that particular scholarship. Know exactly what are your opportunity costs in terms of what's the bond amount, what grades you need to get, what happens if you don't. It's always important to find out what you get and what you don't get from the scholarship. I think that's quite important. It's important to know what kind of job, how they will place you when you come back. A lot of people just think that a scholarship is a reward for doing really well in university, but it really is a job that you're applying for. So that would be my advice. If you can take away one thing from me, it would really be that.
So I think before you apply for a scholarship, do your research, think about what you want to do, imagine yourself in that organization and how you would see yourself 5 years down the line. I know these are hard questions to ask yourself, especially if you're, 18, 19? These are hard questions, but I agree, and it's tough on yourself. But it's a very important time in your life to be thinking about this. Speak to your parents, yes, but also speak to professionals in the industries that you think you're interested in.
Make informed decisions. That's really, really important. Be really disciplined about what you want to achieve, but do not limit yourself. Never, ever, ever limit yourself. You do not know who you are in a year's time, in 5 years' time. I thought I was going to be mega corporate. I am the complete opposite. You want to become an interesting person, and the only way you can do that is to get as much experience as you can, and you need a little bit of discipline so that you get good at whatever you try to do.
So I think they've pretty much covered all this. They really solid advice. So something a bit softer. I mean, when you apply for the scholarship, I'm pretty sure you personally know that you're of a certain caliber. Maybe you're already the best in your school and all, but you need to understand that once you apply for the scholarship, you will be competing among the best. So at the end of the day, there are only so many scholarships around, and not everyone is going to be given a scholarship. So if you get rejected, don't take it so personally and give up all hope and everything, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of options for you. Even if you can't go in your first year, there's twinning. You can go in your second year. Some scholarships are even given in the penultimate year, which is the second year. So even if you fail in your first year, after failing, go and do an internship or something, make your CV even more impressive, learn on why you failed and how you can improve, and apply again the second year. There's nothing wrong. And even if you don't get that again, you can even apply for like your master's degree. There's nothing stopping you from doing an undergrad and then a postgrad.
Is there anything else that can be useful to you that can also be useful to the friends that are around you? Yes.
How do you stay motivated during your years of study? Like 3-4 years, it's hard to maintain, etc.
Okay, I'll answer this one really quickly before passing it on. So, you know what's funny about education is that the more you open your mind to what's out there, the more you learn, it actually feeds on itself and you actually want to learn more because you know your capabilities have increased, and so there's so many more options out there for you. And I don't think you actually get demotivated when you are studying. Life is quite exciting in the UK and definitely in university all over the place. So I wouldn't worry about that. I would be more worried that you're not motivated enough today to be the best person you are.
Why did you all choose UK? What did UK has to attract your interest?
I chose UK over France because I couldn't speak proper French.
If you know what you really want to do, the UK is a pretty good place to be because you learn one thing very deep. If you go to the US, you get the option of actually either having a liberal arts degree where you do a little bit of everything, or even like my sister now who is doing economics in the US, but in her first year you take a bunch of many other subjects and you can change your degree very easily because when you enroll with the school, you enroll with the school, not really the department. But in the UK, when you're in that university, most of the times you're with that department and you need to do a formal transfer if you want to go from, let's say, economics to something like engineering. So is this during the degree or during your... I think it depends on the company. So like for Bangalore, they look at your final grade. So what is the grade you graduate with? They didn't really look at what you got in your first year, what you got in your second year, but you have to report your scores. So they would know what your scores are. But ultimately, in the contract, it was written that you need to graduate with, it was a 2-2 from the UK to qualify for the contract. Anything less than that, you have to pay back the one.
Yeah. Is it hard to get an internship? Like, was it really competitive?
So I was the president of the business club after I founded it, and then became the president in the third year. So I managed to get a lot of contacts. So this is very important actually, guys, networking. You know, you're going to be in London where finance is central. I mean, after the crisis, it's a little bit of a taboo word, but still, you know, you've got all the top names there. Take that opportunity, join the finance club, join the venture capital and private equity club, join every club that you can and get those business cards, because that's how I got my internship, because they remembered how well I organized an event and got them people for them to employ, that they thought, hey, this girl, we need to hire her. We need to put her on an internship program. You know, I think the most important thing at the end of the day is do things with purpose. Be focused, know what you want at the end of the day.
And with this, a big round of applause for the panelists.